We've talked about hiring, training, motivating, evaluating, and rewarding employees. Now let's talk about compensating employees. The objective of any compensation program is to attract and retain good employees and also motivate them to execute your retail strategy. So there's a couple methods that retailers use when they are trying to compensate their employees. And the first is what we call a straight salary compensation. Straight salary is when salespeople receive a fixed amount of compensation for each hour, week, or year that they work. So you might get paid $12 an hour, or you might make $60,000 a year. And regardless of what you are doing each day, what task you're doing, your pay is still going to be the same. Straight salary is great when a retailer wants their associates to spend more time on service than sales, or equal time on service and sales. It works when there is a long sales cycle, so products aren't sold as frequently. And the reason why I have up here, you want to use this when more time is spent on service than sales, is because you do want your associates to focus on customer service and talking to the customers and spending time with them. You don't just want your associates to be pushing a product and trying to make a sale. Another compensation plan is the straight commission plan. Straight commission is when salespeople get a percentage of the sales that they bring into the business. And so this type of compensation plan rewards employees on the basis of their productivity. And so the goal here is to get your salespeople to sell as much as they possibly can. And so you're going to use straight commission when your goal is just to increase volume. You want to make sure that you're increasing the amount of sales. Commission is a very powerful motivator here. So if your employees know that they're going to make money on every product they sell, there's a chance that they're going to sell more products. So another type of compensation is salary plus commission. Some commission plans include a base salary that the employee is going to receive. And organizations use this because they do need to reward behaviors that support the overall strategy. And so this salary plus commission helps ensure that employees are going to focus on service, but that they'll also focus on sales. So let's look at just a couple of advantages and disadvantages of each of these plans. With straight salary, it's very easy for the retailer to manage because they know exactly what they're going to be paying in employee salaries every month. It also allows the retailer quite a bit of flexibility in that they can assign people to different roles within the store. So you don't have employees who are trying to focus on just sales. You have employees who are willing to do other tasks as well. A disadvantage here is that there is some lack of motivation to sell products because there's no incentive to sell it. And a disadvantage is that there's a fixed cost for your salaries regardless of the sales. So if you have a really bad sales month, you still have to pay all of your employees. So we already talked about how straight commission is a powerful motivator. So commission is going to motivate all of your employees to continue to sell the product. A couple of disadvantages, though: who's going to do the tasks such as stocking the shelves, cleaning the bathrooms, wiping down the floors, making sure there's no spills, talking to the customers? Who's going to do all that? Because that does not make you any money. You only make money if you sell a product. So it can lead to really poor customer service, and it won't lead to loyalty from your employees, because if they can go make a straight commission that's higher at a competitor, they're going to do so. And you've got the same advantages and disadvantages for the salary plus commission as you do for straight commission. Let's talk about a couple of legal issues that arise in compensation. Retailers have to be aware of the Fair Labor Standards Act, and this was first developed in 1938, so it's been around a while. And the Fair Labor Standards Act was the act that set minimum wages, maximum hours, child labor standards, and overtime pay provisions. So this was trying to make sure that workers were compensated fairly and that they were not overworked. So I don't know if you're aware, but just so you know, the Georgia minimum wage in 2017 was $5.15. And the federal minimum wage is $7.25. And this is for employees who are covered under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So a pay of $7.25 an hour only works out to be about $14,500 a year. So the Fair Labor Standards Act does set a minimum, but there's definitely some work that could be done to update that act. Another issue in compensation is the Equal Pay Act. The Equal Pay Act is a bit newer than the Fair Labor Standards Act, and it prohibits unequal pay for men and women who perform equal work. So equal work requires that the same skills, the same effort level, the same responsibility are all required for people who work in the same work environment. So the Equal Pay Act is trying to bridge the gap between the pay of men and women. And so retailers have to be aware of both of those two things when they are compensating their employees. So moving on from compensation, I want to speak for a minute on store leadership. Leadership is the process by which a person attempts to influence others to accomplish a common goal. And so there's a couple types of leader behavior. And as a store manager, you have to develop some leadership behaviors that are going to guide your sales associates and your employees to success. And so one type of leadership behavior is a task performance behavior. And these are the store manager's efforts to plan, organize, motivate, evaluate, and coordinate store employees' activities. So these task performance behaviors include things like writing the schedule and giving out paychecks. So they are things that are required, have to be done in order to effectively run a retail establishment. Now, group maintenance behaviors are the activities that a store manager undertakes to make sure that employees are satisfied and work well together. So these types of behaviors might be considering the employees' needs. So talking to them about what's going on in their lives and if they need a day off for a family event or a child's sporting event or things like that. And these group maintenance behaviors include doing things like showing concern for the employee's well-being. So recognizing that they're more than just a tool to earn sales, but that they do have, their own lives and how to kind of incorporate and make everyone very happy in the workplace. So a good store leader can perform both these task performance behaviors and these group maintenance behaviors. So as a retail store manager, you do need to develop some leadership decision-making styles. And there's a couple of different types of leadership decision-making styles that you should be aware of. There's a group of leaders that we call autocratic leaders. And autocratic leaders make decisions all on their own, and then they will inform their employees. So a manager might determine who's going to work in what area of the store, when each employee will take their break, and what day each employee will have off. So everything is done at the management level with no input from the employees. A democratic leader, on the other hand, is going to seek information and opinions from their employees and then base the decisions that they make off of the information they get from their employees. So a democratic leader is going to share their power and information with the employees. They're going to ask the employees when they want to work and try to be accommodating in the scheduling. If a policy needs change, they might get input from their employees. If procedures are changing, if they're going to make a uniform change, they would seek the thoughts of the employees before making any decision. So whether you use an autocratic leadership style or a democratic leadership style, all retail store managers should try to become transformational leaders. Transformational leaders get people to transcend their personal needs for the sake of the group or the company. So this is, trying to make sure that your employees are engaged and that they are working hard to benefit both themselves and the retail store. So transformational leaders tend to be engaged and really generate excitement amongst their employees. They're going to delegate challenging work. So they're going to challenge their employees. They're going to empower them to make decisions and make choices in their work. They're going to have very free and open communication. And oftentimes, transformational leaders are more than just a leader or a manager, but they become a mentor to an employee. So leadership decision-making styles have a very large impact on your employee base and how they perform for your company. And you should know that it's not an all or nothing approach. It has to be a combination. So a good manager knows when they should use autocratic leadership styles and when to be more democratic. So there are certain types of retailers that tend to lean towards more autocratic leadership, and certain retailers that lean more towards democratic leadership. And there's also, depending on who the employee is, you might have to act a little differently. So I'd love for you to think about some retailers. Maybe you've worked for them, know people who've worked for them, or you can do some research and think about different situations and when a retail establishment might need to be a bit more autocratic with their leadership and when they're free to be more democratic with their leadership.